here with Shane Culver, manager of Radney-Smith Funeral Home in Sylacauga, and we are going to have a little bit of an interview and get some of your perspective and history in the funeral service.
All right.
All right. Well, Shane, first of all, how long have you been working in funeral service?
So I was 17, so a little over 30 years.
Wow, that's a good bit of time for a young man.
I was.
How were you first introduced to the funeral service, and who brought that introduction to you?
I actually worked next door to the funeral home at the car wash, and those guys would come over and buy cigarettes from me, and we would start talking, and I ended up going to work at the funeral home part-time.
Wow. So you started as a part-timer. I assume that you completed some education. So what educational background do you have, and what schools did you attend?
Jeff State. I graduated high school, started Jeff State for the mortuary program, and graduated from there in 98.
1998. That seems so long ago. Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Where did you start your apprenticeship from?
At Curtis & Son in Sylacauga.
Okay. So what period of time was that?
Started there right around 92. Apprenticeship started right around 94, and then I graduated mortuary school in 98. So.
Okay. Well, you started out at Curtis & Son, but you moved around a little bit. So how many different funeral providers have you been associated with, and were they independent or corporately owned?
Really three. Curtis & Son was owned by Lowen at the time. Then I moved to Rideouts in Birmingham, and they were SCI at the time. And then, of course, I come back to Curtis & Son, which had been purchased by SCI, and then SCI purchased Radney-Smith, and I transferred to here. So that's pretty much really the only places.
Okay. Well, understanding that you attended school at Jeff State, as you have progressed through the years from starting out, you've gone into a leadership role here at Radney-Smith as a supervisor and a manager at other locations as well. What's your opinion of the distance learning option for funeral service students, and do you see any advantages to the distant learning?
I think it's wonderful. I think it gives students and apprentices an opportunity to stay at work more. It helps the companies they're working for because they've got the students in-house more than they used to. I think it's a wonderful advantage for both.
Okay. Well, what advice would you give to other managers who have employees express an interest in furthering their education and maybe taking on an apprenticeship role?
Let these guys do as much work as they can from here when it comes to school. That helps them to help you at a later date.
We've seen changes in the education, the way funeral service students are educated. What other changes in the funeral service profession and training have you found that are significant for the apprentice, or either with a positive or a negative impact?
I would say the most significant is the ability to personalize funerals now more than ever, to make connections with families and to get those apprenticed involved in that from the onset, instead of trying to take an older person and try to get them to do something different.
Teaching old dogs new tricks might not be so easy.
It's hard to do.
Well, shifting from the educational part and looking at our legislative part, what about current funeral service law, focusing mainly on Alabama mortuary law? What, in your opinion, could or should be changed or amended to address the current needs and state of the profession here in Alabama?
Authorization for cremation. I think it should be made easier for the families. Maybe a majority versus having everyone sign. I also think that a person should be able to sign their authorization on a prearrangement, so that when the time comes, they don't have to worry about tracking down family from all over the country.
I know that's been a difficult issue, especially experiencing it personally here. As in a professional capacity, and now that you have two apprentices that you're mentoring, what qualities would you like to see in an apprentice candidate?
The open-mindedness, the ability to change gears at a moment's notice, and be able to talk to people. That's the main thing.
Well, going along with that, what essential personal qualities do you think are important for a funeral director?
The ability to change, the ability to kind of shoot from the hip, and think out of the box.
Well, what specific activities or actions do you employ to mentor your apprentice in a professional environment for their growth?
I try to support as much as I can, give feedback on a daily basis, give some freedom, especially to the ones that can, so that they're able to take ownership of what they're doing.
Well, talking about giving them some freedom, what is your personal gauge as an initiative to begin the confer independent decision making to an apprentice? And do you approach it in levels, or what basic things do you permit? And maybe what is your level of interaction from that point and feedback in the process?
I tell everybody that starts to treat families like you would want to be treated. And I don't think you can go wrong doing that. Each individual person has their own ability as to what you can kind of let them go with, and what you need to kind of reel in. But I try to monitor daily.
Well, one last question, and it's specifically regarding your career. Would there be a point in your career that you can look back and identify as a personal moment as to whether you would continue in the profession or pursue something different?
I got out of the business for about 2 years. Went to work for a construction company as an estimator, and realized really quick that I'm a funeral director and had to get back into business.
Well, I appreciate your time, Shane, and your input in helping answer some of the questions that I had, and gave me a little bit more insight into your management style, and I certainly appreciate the time that you've given to us as apprentices in supporting our learning process. Thank you very much.
Thank you.